Are you in a pit of despair? Trust me, I've been there also. And it's not a pretty place. It's not fun. It's dark. It's dreary. You feel like you're never going to get out. You feel stuck. It's like you're in quicksand. You just stepped in quicksand, and now you're sinking. You don't want to sink. You know, if you've ever seen that in a movie, the person sinks down, they can't get out. That's what it feels like when you're in a pit of despair, or you're stuck in the mud, and the mud is so thick and it's surrounding you and you can't get out. Or sometimes you feel like you're drowning. Like I've even had dreams. I've had dreams of me drowning, and I can't get my head above the water. I can't breathe. I can't. It's like I'm trying, and that's what the quicksand is. It's like you're trying to get out, and you're putting forth all this effort, and you're putting out all this effort and energy, and you're not going anywhere. You're digging and digging, but you're not getting out of the pit. So you have to stop digging, okay? And you have to believe and put your faith on the fact, because God says that he gives us all a measure of faith. So are we using our faith? You know, put your faith on the fact that he does what he says he's going to do. So he says that he'll bring us out of the pit. He's the only one that can. So a lot of times when that happens, people will say, well, go to counseling, get a counselor, you know, and that might help you a little bit. You know, it might help you calm down and be able to see things from a different perspective, But the only thing that is truly going to bring you out of the pit, okay, and the second part of that verse is put your feet on a rock. The only one that can do that is God himself. So when I was in the pit, okay, I was in the pit this year, I was not okay. I was not okay, and no one knew how bad it was. They still don't. I don't know if anyone would understand how bad it was. And I knew the reason I didn't really tell anyone is because I knew that they couldn't, it was not within their power. It's not within their power to pull me out. They might be able to tell me something good. They might be able to encourage me and give me some words of wisdom and all of that. And yes, I had alluded to it with 3 different people. I alluded to it a couple times. But I knew that they couldn't do what God does, but I wasn't sure how to let God do that. And so he did it. So here I am. It's a year later, after my mom has passed, after I went through all this stuff and these horrible emotions and despair. Just like I felt despair. I didn't feel depressed, but you could say that's maybe a part of depression or oppression, whatever, but I felt despair. It's like you're grasping at straws, you know, you're grasping, you're trying to climb, pull up, and it doesn't do anything. It feels very desperate. And so the only thing that helped was telling God, okay, God, you know, just day by day. And I put on a good front, like I know how to do, right? And I went through the motions of my day every day, and I just kept moving forward. That's what people say, you know, just keep moving forward. And I did that, and that did help. And actually my job helped. My job helped because I have a job where I'm focused on other people and helping them spiritually and emotionally. So that really helps. So it does help to get outside of yourself and focus on someone else. And that helped me a lot. And then to feel that purpose, that was a purpose that I have. But the only thing that helps is when God steadies you and you know that it's him, and it's only God that can do that. So you have to be willing to give up all of the other things that you're clinging on to. So if you're clinging on to grasping at straws or trying to pull yourself out of the mud, whatever it is, you have to stop all that and cling to God. So you can't tangibly cling to God, right? So you have to spiritually cling to God. And then he reaches down and he pulls you up. It may not be in an instant, like we're a microwave society and we want to press a button and 30 seconds later want everything done. You know, that may not be how he does it. It may be over a series of weeks, days, months. You know, I don't know. It could be however long he feels it needs to be, but all the time, if you put your faith into the fact that you know he's going to do it, you don't know how, you don't know when, and you don't know where, but you just know that he will, because he's Almighty God and he can do that. No one else can do that for you, but God will do it. Let me just talk a little bit about the Costa Rica video that I posted. I don't usually vlog that much, but I knew I wanted to do a video about that when I got home, and I actually wish I would have taken a little bit more videos. There was a lot of them in the car. I guess I didn't take a whole lot, you know, as many videos other places as I thought I did. So when you're doing it, it feels like you're videoing all the time, but you know, you can't have too much footage because you might want to throw something out or edit something. And then, so anyway, I wish I had done a little bit more. And then my hair was just frizzed out the whole time because I learned a little bit of a lesson on this trip, and not that I haven't traveled before, but I don't know why I did this. But I was I decided to take all my like extra stuff. So I took this extra curling iron that I have, extra hair care, just all these extras that I have like in my little travel thing. And then when I got there, I'm like, I wish I had my everyday stuff because this is not working for me. I didn't have, you know, the products that I normally use on a daily basis here. And so that was unfortunate. So I didn't have like the right makeup. I didn't have like the right brushes, makeup brushes, all those things. And so my hair just never did what I wanted it to do. So that extra curling iron I had, it never got hot enough. Like for my hair, the curling iron, there has to be a lot of heat for it to curl. And then if it's humid, you know, it's just, anyway, it was a mess. But so I actually left that curling iron there. That was unfortunate. The one time that my hair looked good was when my friend did my hair and makeup for the party, and that was about it. And then the party, it was really awesome party, but not everyone could make it, and apparently not everyone was invited, because I kept saying, well, is so-and-so gonna be there? And they're like, nope. They were keeping it to like my very, very closest friends. And so there was actually a head count. They knew exactly how much food and everything there was gonna be, and that was it. No one else could come. I'm like, oh, because I was all last minute being like, well, let's invite so-and-so and so-and-so. And they were like, no, we can't. We've got it, you know, covered for this many. And so it was fine. But those people that you saw in the video And there's probably a couple more, you know, there's more that didn't make it, but those are the main people that I would call my tribe. Um, so they are close friends. I mean, if I could point to them, I could tell you stories about each one of them. So the main one, and the one that threw this party, was Leo, and he's just been a friend since I probably met him when I was 10 or 11. I think I might have met Andrea first because she lived near where we lived in the beginning. So Andrea might be the oldest friend, Andrea and Rosemarie. And then Leo and the others were closely followed that. As usual, my mind, you know, have you seen these memes where they talk about women and how many, like a woman's mind, and they say it's like having all these window tabs open on your computer. It's like 1,200 window tabs, you know, they're thinking about all these things all the time, whatever that means. But so that's kind of how my mind is. I'm thinking on too many things at once. But so Leo used to babysit me and my brother and sister when we lived up there on that hill I showed you in the video. We lived up there. That house is still there that we lived in, and it's beautiful. I wish I would have gone there this time. I didn't go up there this time. I had very limited time. I only had 6 days. And I remember when I sent Leo my flight info, he was like, 6 days? Like, you're coming all this way and you're only going to be here 6 days. Well, we had some things going on, like in our personal life and stuff, and I just felt like I couldn't be away very long. So, you know, I said, I told him I would go for the party, and I did, and, you know, so I stayed a week. And it really wasn't that much time. I mean, it was packed in. It was so packed in. We had so many things planned. We went to, so we had my party, we had the church service that we went to, we had the dinner with my friend Olga and her boyfriend, and then we had Mila's party. So Mila, her birthday is in the same month and really close to mine, so we had her party, and that was all Indian food, Indian inspired, and it was at this apartment complex downtown. Not complex, apartment building. It's a really nice building. So we had that party. I mean, there's just so many things, and when I went this year, I was just like, gosh, you know, this is where I feel like I feel it's more than at home. I feel I don't know, I kind of feel complete. And you know, it's like that's my tribe of people, and they are so far away. And it's so funny because Leo, my friend, he shares his location with me on my phone. And it's funny, when I'm looking on the location for one of the kids or whatever, there's Leo, and it will say he's 1,200, you know, he's 1,900 miles away. It's so funny. And I'm like, oh, he's here and there. He's always going somewhere. He's always, you know, kind of at the beach or here or there. Or I think recently he went to Morocco. I mean, he's all over the place. And then he was in Tennessee recently. He was actually supposed to come visit me, but ended up not working out for that. So I was a little sad because I was expecting him to come here, but that's okay. Maybe next time. So Leo used to babysit us, and so he was one of the first people we met when we were on the mountain there. And so we've just been friends ever since. He used to babysit us. He went to our church. His sister kind of worked for us here and there, but became a friend also. And so, I mean, I love them and all of those people, and they all kind of live in different places. But I love that community and that communal type feel that I have there. It's like people are just ready to go do things and go here and go there. One of the places we went was Cerro de la Muerte, or we were close to Cerro de la Muerte, and we got lost. Some of the footage of us driving, we were actually lost because I couldn't get my maps to work on my phone. And then I think one friend was using maps, another friend was using Waze, and so we kept going different ways and stuff, and got kind of lost. But I mean, it was fine. But we went up there to buy some fish, this really delicious fish that my friend sells, and actually Leo made some of that on his outdoor little kind of grill thing outdoors. And we ate that, and I wish I would have put more footage in there about that, but when I was trying to look for the videos and the photos, I wasn't sure if the photos were even going to show up, and they did. It was hard because I was clicking on, it was like 30 things at once, and I had to make sure they were in order, and so I kind of left a few things out, but you get the feel of the whole trip. And so I feel like that's my tribe of people. And I don't get to live on a daily basis with my tribe. It's like I don't ever feel that way anywhere else that I am. And it's just such a different feeling. And I grew up like that. I grew up going places, doing things in groups. We would do things together. And so I look for that here. And it just never seems to gel. It's just not the same. And maybe if I had grown up here, I would have it more. And I kind of do have it with certain friends. Like I have one friend that lives out in Oceanside, California. She's kind of that way. She's the one I went to the Bahamas with twice. And I want to go visit her in California. She's the one that's like that. She likes doing all this kind of stuff. And then I have another good friend that lives here. So segueing into another subject here. I've got like 5 subjects going. But so a couple weeks ago was the anniversary of my mom's death. And I was thinking about it on the day that was the anniversary. I think it was like October 20th, something like that. And so all the memories came up on Facebook, and the photos that we had posted, and Leo had actually come out here and had seen Mom and seen my siblings and everything. And I took him to St. Louis and to see my sister, and we just went all over the place. And I remember thinking, I just had this feeling that I can't believe it's been a year, for one. And then on top of that, I was just reflecting on what a difficult year this has been for me. I actually have not really been okay this year. I was not okay this year. I'm okay now. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm 100% even, but I was not okay. And so because there was like a succession of bad events that happened in my life all at the same time. A death is one thing. That's enough, and then my sister moving away, that was another huge thing. It was like 3 huge things all in succession in a very short period of time. And it really thrust me into this time where I felt lost. I mean, I knew my mom was gonna die and all of that, and I processed it, but after she passed, I felt so lost just in the world. And so I kind of liken that to 10 years ago when my dad died. I kind of felt that way too. And I remember telling my mentor, I don't know how to live in a world without my dad. Like I didn't. And I had that same thing happen 10 years ago. My dad passed away, my divorce was final, and I went on a trip to Europe all within 10 days. And so, you know, no one knows when someone's going to pass away. Well, it happened to be like right around the same time that my divorce was final. So those were two huge blows. And I remember just feeling like, oh my gosh, maybe I shouldn't go on this trip. And it was this ministry trip with Marilyn Hickey Ministries, and I had paid a lot of money to go, and it was a ministry trip. So I kind of felt like, you know, I am just going to go. That's it. You know, I think my dad would probably just want me to go and not just stay here and mourn and whatever. But then the fact that my divorce was final, it was just another thing. And I was like, I just need to get out of here. I got to get away, very far away. And so that trip, it was kind of like a reset, kind of resetting my mindset on what do I do now with my life. And it was, so it was a trip to Greece and Rome. So I flew from here to New York, and then from there to, I think there to Rome, but we didn't stay in Rome. We took another flight to Athens. So we went to look at like all of the ruins in Athens and all the places in Athens. Like one of the amazing places that we went was Mars Hill, which the Apostle Paul preached on in Athens. And so we went to Mars Hill, you know, the group of us, it was a group of people, it was like 50 people. So it was really cool. So I wasn't alone. I wasn't like, oh, on this trip alone and, you know, just, you know, drowning in my sorrow type deal. It was all of these Christian people, devout Christians, and we were on this little trek and mission, and Marilyn would preach every night. Her daughter would sometimes preach, and so we went to Mars Hill, we went to Corinth, we went to a lot of places in the Bible. We were kind of like going down, you know, the road like where Paul went and the early Christians. We saw a lot of ruins. I remember ruins in several places. I wish I had written all this down where we went, but I kind of lost touch with a lot of those people. But one person that went on that trip that I met, we are still friends today. And I'm still in touch with her, and I actually went to visit her in Chicago like 3 years ago. She lives in Illinois, and so I'm still friends with her, and she's actually been on like several Marilyn Hickey trips. So we went to Athens, and then we took a bus. We went all around Greece. We saw the Aegean Sea. We saw this, what was that? Some canal there is there. And then this awesome, amazing place we saw is called Meteoros. It is a monastery on the top of these huge rocks. It's like these huge, I can't even describe it. It's these huge rocks. The monastery is like on top. And I'll talk about that in another video, but we went there, we went to, and then, you know, she held all these meetings there, which we went, and she would anoint us to pray for people and, you know, everything. And then from there, then we went back to Rome, and that's where we left back to the States from. But we were only in Rome for like a couple, 2 or 3 days or something. What did we actually do there? And there's so much religious history in Rome. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you. You'd have to look it all up, but there's like the tomb of one of the apostles. There's all these churches. It's just on and on and on, you know, like, oh my God. But so that was like a reset trip, but, and it kind of did that for me, but it was like, okay, I'm in a new time in my life. And that's kind of how I felt whenever my mom passed last year. Even though I would, you know, I had accepted it and everything, but I was taking care of her for so long, and I was in touch with her every day and seeing her every day and helping her and taking care of her, that whenever she did pass, I was like, oh my God, what do I do now? And I kind of wasn't working at the time for that purpose, because I knew that she needed me and you know, everything. I had actually been working in a hospice like a couple years prior. but at that time I wasn't working. Worked out because I was able to have that time with her and stuff. But I was not okay this year. And God gave me a friend here. And you know, God puts people in our lives, and I've been so thankful to God for giving me that friend, because she also has the Latin culture in her life, and so we connected a lot on that. And you know, we just understand that side of each other. Like, you know, there's just certain things that you do and you experience. And so I actually met her before, probably a year before all of this happened. So I'm like, God, you knew that my mom was going to pass away. I didn't know, you know, that this was going to happen so quickly. And then you knew that my sister was going to move, or both of my sisters were going to move. And that happening at the same time really threw me for a loop, because whenever something would happen in my life that was hard, or, you know, I needed extra support for, I would go to my sister's, because she was right here and 20 minutes away. And I would go there, and, you know, if something was wrong or whatever, and I would just cry with her, and, you know. And so when she moved, and then my mom passed, and then my other sister had moved like a year prior. So I went from, and then after that, my brother moved. So I went from having everybody here, right? So I kind of had that communal feel, or community feel. That's what I moved here for. From that small town, I moved here because I wanted that with my family. And so I went from having them all here. My brother, my one sister, my other sister, and my mom. I went from having them all here to having none of them here in a very short period of time. And I remember saying, God, but why? Like, why? You know that I need this community, and now I don't have it. Like, I don't understand. I mean, I understand my mom dying, but like, now both of my sisters are gone. I have 3 sisters. One of them has always been in Texas for the last 10 years. But the other 2 were here. And I'm like, why? I don't understand. And I talked to my mentor about it, and she said, well, April, not maybe, but most likely what God is wanting is He's wanting you to get closer to Him. And I knew that was true. You know, as soon as she said it, I'm like, yes, I know. Okay. Yes. Does that mean I like it? No, I still don't like it. I don't like it, and I don't want it. You know, it's not like I don't want to get closer to God, but it's like I was just hanging on to, like, I've got to have my family close. So then I was looking at ways where I could be closer to them, and I could move, and, you know, and it's like, you know, it's like that scripture, a man plans out his life, but it's like, no, we have to go with God's plan. We might have a plan, but it may not match up to His. And so if it doesn't match up to His, then we have to forego that plan and go with His plan. But the point that I'm trying to make right now is that I was not okay this year. I was not okay. And here's the thing, it was worse than anyone knew. I was not okay for many, many months, and especially this past spring. And that trip to Costa Rica happened to be in the spring when I was at my worst. I really was. And I alluded to it to maybe 2 people. I alluded to what I was going through to 2, maybe 3 people. But I never told them really the extent of how bad it was. No one knows how bad it was. Not even my husband. Because I'm really good at hiding things, and I can hide my, you know, I can put on a brave front, I guess is what I'm saying. And that's what I did, and I'm used to doing that. So I was really, really, really in a bad spot. And the reason I never really came out and told anyone how bad it was is because I knew that they couldn't help me. I mean, just bottom line, I knew that no one can help me. And I'm not saying that lightly. What I'm saying is I knew that only God could help me through it. So I was going to have to come to a place where I allowed God, okay, to be the one, because what I had always done, I mean, I've always clung to God, but having my family here, I would always run to them. You know, something went wrong, I'm running over to my sisters, or I'm gonna run to my mom's, or, you know, I'm gonna call somebody, which I still can do, but I don't really do that as much anymore because I feel like they're just not as close. But I was not doing well. And this went on for days, weeks, months. And I knew instinctively and just in my spirit that no one can pull me out of it. No one can. There's just no one that can do it. Only God can do it. So I had to really allow myself to kind of grieve through the whole thing, and then try reaching out more myself and making my relationship with God better and closer. And that's what we all have to do. You know, it's sad that it took, you know, something like this for me to do that. Of course, I work on it all the time, but this was different. It was like, if I don't cling to God, you know, and really believe what he says in his word, and really put all this stuff into action and everything, I may not be here in a couple months. You know, I mean, I was not doing well. And that was a really dark time. I mean, I had that book, Dark Night of the Soul, out here for a long time. I was going to kind of do a video on Dark Night of the Soul, and maybe I still will, but it kind of felt like that. It was like a dark night of the soul. And no one can pull you out of that. People can counsel you, they can tell you things, they can try to encourage you. And it helped for a little bit. It would help me for a minute, or a little bit, or a day, or half a day, or a couple days, or a couple hours. But it wasn't pulling me out. And the thing is, only God can pull you out of that pit. And one of my favorite verses is just that. It's about God pulling us out of the miry pit. Let's see if we can find that verse real quick. So Psalm 40, verse 2, that's the New King James. It says, he also brought me up out of a horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock, and established my steps. So, so then the New Living Translation says, he lifted me out of the pit of despair, and out of the mud and the mire. He set my feet on solid ground and steadied me as I walked along. That's what I needed. I knew I couldn't get that from anyone, because I knew how bad it was. I knew what was going on, and I knew that no one could get me out. I didn't need to go to a counselor. Like, that's not what I needed. I needed this. I needed God to pull me up. There were no words that someone could say to me that were going to do the trick, that were going to be enough. There just weren't, and I knew that. And so I don't know how he does it. I really don't know how God does it. Okay, he has his ways. He works in mysterious ways, right? He really does. It's a lot of things that he does are a mystery. And all we have to do is open ourselves as the vessel, right? And allow him to come in. Because there were parts of me that I did not want to give up. I don't want to give up my running to my family. I don't want to give that up, you know, and running to this or running to that. You know, back when, 10 years ago, I didn't want to give up my dad kind of being my spiritual leader, guide, whatever you want to call it. So 10 years ago, I had to learn that. I had to learn how to do that for myself, because we can't, you know, hang on to our parents' coattails the rest of our lives. We have to, at some point, you know, learn how to take these things up on our own and do them. And that's the part of adulting that, like, sometimes don't want to do. I'm like, no, I liked it when my dad was my spiritual, you know, leader, and he was covering me. He was my spiritual cover and all that. I liked it when my mom was here and she was doing that for me. I could call her and she would pray with me anytime, day or night. You know, I could go to her apartment and cry and cry and cry and cry for 2 hours if I wanted to, you know. And it's like, once that person is gone, I don't know, I feel stronger, but I also feel like I'm learning more to cling to God. We have to cling to him, because not only can people let us down, they could tell us the wrong thing, even in love. They could give us the wrong advice. That, you know, even well-meaning people can tell you the wrong thing, give you wrong advice, whatever. So he pulled me out of the pit. I was in a pit. I really was in a pit. So what I would say to you, to someone that is in the pit of despair, is that the only one that can really pull you out, completely pull you out of that and set your feet upon a rock, is God himself.